it's recording. Hey guys, so my name's Luke Van Dillen.
And I'm Jeremy Bowen.
And today we were going to just talk about four quick bullet points in this sort of mini podcast that we're doing right now. The first of which is how to live in a way that brings you peace and meaning in a time of heightened anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
The second one is how to regulate your nervous system. The third bullet point is how do you view the world in a way that maintains your sense of creativity? And the last one is how do you navigate your sense of purpose as it relates to the job you have?
Yeah.
So I thought we'd just kind of do them in order. So how to live in a way that brings you peace and meaning in a time of heightened anxiety. Now, I wanted to be very particular about this and not get into the specifics of what's causing all the anxiety because everybody kind of already knows that and I don't want to activate anybody. So, for me, one of the things that brings me peace and meaning, and it almost doesn't even have to be in relation to the anxiety, but one of the things that I do to let's just start with the first part of that, peace. What brings me peace? So for me, one of the things that I really like to do is listen to like lots of sort of Buddhist related talks because like Buddhism is it's a very mindful way of thinking and viewing the world. And so, people like Jack Kornfield, for example, or Alan Watts, for example, these are like, they're audio talks that are basically free on YouTube, and I kind of listen to a lot of those. So that's one thing that I do while I'm driving around doing Uber Eats, which is what I do for work. Yeah, so, and as far as meaning, I guess I could kind of do a little slight segue to that subpoint. What brings me meaning is I'm kind of a naturally creative person. So I like to view everything that I look at, whether that's when I'm outside and I'm looking at trees or cars or just people or just really anything that is in my immediate surroundings. One of the things that brings me a lot of meaning is just looking at everything as a work of art. And I know that a lot of people can kind of do that to an extent, but it does get harder as the world gets more difficult, and I'm just going to leave that there. So that's and that's why I do a lot of nature photography, I do a lot of poetry and these kind of things. I mean, if you're creative, I feel like you may or may not have already sort of found these practices,
Yeah.
And so I'm not really saying anything that's that revolutionary, go be a photographer, go outside, go write poetry,
Mm-hmm.
But these are just things that I personally get a lot of, meaning and peace from.
Yeah. I like how you separated the peace and meaning. I was kind of there with you. I was thinking that's a good instinct because something that brings you peace might not always be the same thing that brings you meaning.
Right. Right.
Like for me, something that brings me peace is to sit and play Xbox for like 3 hours, which is not always meaningful, but trying to lump them together like that can make it challenging. So
Mm-hmm.
if you're able to find peace and meaning in the same thing, that's cool, but I don't think it's mandatory.
No, certainly not.
But yeah, like for me, like I was saying with playing video games, reading books, I've been reading a lot of sci-fi lately, and
well, yeah, I mean that's really good, and I just kind of I've been doing a little more reading. I've kind of I feel like some of the books that I read are almost kind of like a feedback loop, if you will, because most of the books I read are spiritual in nature, like not Christianity whatsoever. I mean, I explained that I'm kind of delving into like the Buddhist side of that, and it's not even necessarily just strictly Buddhist. It's really like kind of more New Agey, kind of like this sort of pantheistic kind of like very non-religious view on like spiritual practice, if you will. And it's not even practice. Even practice is almost a religious term, in my opinion. So just kind of like viewing the world through like a spiritual, like through spiritual eyes, if you will. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And a lot of the books, when I say they're feedback loops, is I'm reading books like Super Attractor. I'm reading books like the Conversations with God series. And what's the other one? Food of the Gods by Terrence McKenna. That one's a little harder of a read because it's more like about like human evolution and stuff like this. He's spiritual, but he's a little bit more technical about his spirituality, if you will. So, but with that kind of reading material, I find that I get kind of stuck in like a loop with it. Because it can kind of like, if you read enough of one book, I mean, for me, that was Conversations with God, because every time I worked at Summit Polymers, almost, I would say 3/4 of the days, I was listening to an audiobook of one of the 4 Conversations with God series that's on YouTube. And, I think I have like a memory issue, because I kept like, honestly, because I keep like forgetting a lot of what's in the book, so I can just re-listen to it and re-listen to it, and like there's new information that pops out every time I listen to it, which is actually kind of incredible if you think about it. Like,
Yeah. Well, actually, I think that's something that's like shown to be proven amongst most literary things, and or even media for that matter. Like you could watch the same movie 3 or 4 times, and you pick up on something new every time.
really,
Yeah, so I think if you're reading books and listening to audiobooks, if you do it more than once, you'll pick up on different things. That happened to me. I listened to, it was Dave Ramsey's book about how to like get out of debt and everything. I listened to that when I worked at Summit, and the first time I listened to it, I was like, wow, that's a lot of interesting stuff. And then I listened to it again because I didn't know what else to listen to, and I thought that like it might be fun to listen to it again. And then the second time I listened to it, I was kind of listening to it in a more challenging approach. Like rather than saying, oh, I see how this can work for me, I was thinking, how would this work against me? And being a little more realistic. Because that first listen was like, it was really hopeful, or like a fantasy self. Like, oh, of course I could eliminate all unnecessary spending in this like amount of years, and then I'd be all set.
Yeah.
But then I looked at on my second listen, I was like, actually, let me be realistic with myself. It's not going to work out like that, and I don't want to set that too high of a bar and like disappoint myself.
That's so interesting that you say that, because that's what it was for me with a lot of the material that I had taken from. I mean, specifically Conversations with God. I have the most experience with that. Like what it was for me was I was like, oh, this is all really like, carefree and whimsical, and God is everywhere, and God is like every person, and there's no religious dogma in it, and this is so liberating, and all this stuff. And then like and then the more I would listen to it over and over again, I would realize, just hang on a quick second, like what if this is all just like a bunch of, I mean, imagine for a second, for me, I was thinking to myself, imagine for a second if this guy's just a charlatan. You know what I'm saying? Like, and he didn't and then I realized that's probably maybe what this is. And that was kind of like, and I kind of entertain the Conversations with God series more, but I'm a little bit less apt to believe it at face value now. So like I see what you're saying.
Yeah, I feel like that's probably a not bad approach for most things, especially if you're gonna try to apply them to your life.
The whole take it with a grain of salt thing.
Yeah, like at first, like have your initial thoughts and reactions. That's that'll happen. But then if you are gonna put any effort into it, give it a second run, maybe even a third run, because you might think about it differently the next time,
Yeah,
or get more information that you wouldn't have had after just one listening.
true. So I think that's good for our first bullet point. Moving on to number 2, how to regulate your nervous system. This one's pretty difficult. I struggle with this immensely. I mean, we all struggle with it immensely. It's one of the hardest, excuse me, it's one of the most pervasive, ungraspable, like vague, elusive, sort of least tangible things to like really kind of get a handle on in life, is how to regulate your nervous system and how to just not be angry at situations when they arise, how to not be freaked out when something's going on in the world, or in your world, in your personal world outside of the grand scheme.
Mm-hmm.
It's a juggling act.
Mm-hmm.
It's I don't know. Like I don't know if I have a real solid answer to this, and maybe there's not.
Well, it's interesting that you come at it with that angle. I would almost say I would say that's true, but with the caveat of like there's science and research done that shows that there are things that are proven that will help you regulate your nervous system.
True.
Which I mean is
I haven't done my due diligence.
It's not always 100% that it'll work.
Yeah.
Like you can try something like deep breathing, which will like the science shows that it'll alter your cortisol levels or whatever, and it'll tell your brain to exit fight or flight mode if you do these certain things. And like I will practice these things sometimes, and sometimes they do work, but it doesn't always work. And especially if I don't know if you've ever tried to tell someone to calm down or take a deep breath or something when they're upset, but it usually does not go well.
No.
So now imagine telling yourself to do that when you're upset. It's not always easy, and I don't know. It's
well, what I find is that